It has been quite a week, especially for one particular game called Concord. Something that actually has almost, I don't believe, ever has really happened in less than 2 weeks since the game has been launched. It has, as of now, it is officially offline. You can no longer play it. Not only that, you can't even buy it in stores, as pretty much every retailer has since gotten rid of their copies, or I guess recalled, and most likely either destroyed them or pretty much returned them to Sony. There's a lot here to unpack. I was trying to really kind of put these in order on like on what's what, but that's kind of the nitty gritty. But it seems obviously a lot of people aren't happy about it, namely journalists and developers. But so let's kind of look at some of the overall reactions. I'm sorry if some of these kind of repeat, but well, that's just kind of how it is. But anyway, let's get started. Boom.
Hey, what's up, guys? Up here. So today we're going to be once again talking about the content gift that keeps on giving. I'm of course talking about Concord. I think at this point you guys all know the story. This was an 8-year-long project.
Jesus Christ.
Budget, but then instantly failed on release. And only a week and a half after its release, Sony announced that they're shutting down these servers in a few days and issuing refunds to all customers. Now, a lot has happened in the wake of this. We have seen a confirmation that you
can't play
this game on Steam anymore. You can see the player count right now. 24 players left in the Concord server here, and there's been a lot of memes that have come out of this. So people making ironic tweets like this saying that they just bought Concord and they're getting ready to play this weekend, which is of course
that's pretty bad if GameStop's dunking on you.
Of course, after the servers will be shut down, where the official GameStop account quotes them saying, "I have some bad news for you," where they say, "You are the ones that sold it to me," and of course they're looking pretty suspicious. That's funny, right? There's a lot of memes that have come out of this. A lot of people are laughing about the absurdity of this game and how horribly it flopped. But also there's a lot of tears. A lot of people with certain agendas are very upset about the monumental failure of this game. Now, we're going to look through a lot of different tweets, but I want to begin with this one right here. It's a little appetizer to give you a sense of how this video is going to go. So let's begin with this tweet from Khalif Positivity Peddler Adams saying this: "I just absolutely hate that chuds will take this as a win and it will embolden them to be even worse. I hate it so much."
Translation: I hate that developers and publishers are going to have to start looking at people to actually buy their crap, and might actually have to adjust it for well, essentially the customer to want to buy. That's pretty much it. Is this like is this a fucking a journalist? I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, that's kind of what it is. That's where we're at. Yeah, it's because people didn't want to buy your fucking game. There you go.
You can literally feel the soy dripping off of this tweet. So yes, they are very angry about the shutdown of Concord. It goes against the narrative that all of the games journalists that they are a sycophant of have been promoting for a long time. And of course, it's a total chud victory for this guy apparently. And I've been called a chud probably 10,000 times, and I still don't know what it means, and I don't care to find out what it means.
I've been called left wing. I've been called right wing. I've been called woke. I've been called anti woke. Hell, I've been called woke because I don't really mind, because of, kind of saying I don't mind the look of Angela in Silent Hill 2. I've kind of, well, I just pretty much probably been called a chode or chud or some stupid ass name, because I'm kind of poking fun at the people who are still pissed off that the Acolyte got canceled, or that dumbass who was making that little hate campaign to try to get what was it, Ryan Kinnell, Nerdrotic, and Geeks and Gamers demonetized, and it failed hard. Oh, that's an automatic response. That's a massive fucking cope. I mean, Jesus. It's nice not really being, I guess, not really having a side, more just, I have a side, it's mine. But anyway, sorry, I'm rambling.
Just know that everyone who uses that term unironically is typically an insufferable person.
Or grift. They love to use the term grift. Just because you make an opinion, it's grift. Honestly, I'm not sure how Sony is still a company. It's still a company, do they? Oh, well. Did they do anything right? Well, from what I heard, Astrobot's pretty good right now. I don't know, maybe they'll learn, like, hey, let's actually promote games and make games that people want to buy. Also, I'm just saying, give me 1 second. I'm just saying. It's not too late, Sony. I would rather have this than, that emulated version that they're making right now. That guy's working on. I don't know. I'm crazy. Well, whatever. Let's keep going.
But a lot of people in the games journalism
also, hey,
scene
Gen
are
Trash.
very upset about the
Hope you're having a good day.
Concord because they were trying their best to peddle this game and to promote it, and it ultimately failed. I mean, only a month and a half ago, one of the biggest offenders of promoting this game, IGN, said that this game was already shaping up to be a heavyweight hero shooter that can easily compete with the genre's giants. Now, of course, we also had a reporter from IGN also say after the release that if you didn't like this game, you are a bad person. So let's get some...
Yeah, that's what you do. It's going just fine right now, but yeah, that's what you do, right? I mean, like, if you don't like this game, you're a bigot, you're an awful person, you're on the wrong side of history. Yeah, that makes me want to buy your game even more. Are we in high school? Is this just frivolous, silly little name calling to make us do what you want?
Some of the insight from these IGN reporters. Let's get the pulse of IGN in wake of the shutdown announcement. So here we have an editor from IGN, an award-winning journalist too, by the way. So they had this to say about the situation: 8 years to make, a week and a half to succeed. Great system we've got. So you can see the issue right here. I don't think they really read their tweet. It says week and a half to succeed, 8 years to make. They did not have a window of a week and a half to succeed. They had 8 years to do this in a massive budget.
Hey, Cat Miner.
This is a bunch of excuses that people are making, acting like it was only a week and a half they had.
I mean, you had even more time to... even if you don't want to use the 8 weeks, you had like a few months too, because this was also in beta. People could play this, and they were saying this... They were given their problems. Although the main issue I'm seeing, you can say like DEI and whatever, blah blah blah. I kind of think it's a bigger thing. It's that these characters are fucking ugly. Like, I don't know about you, but I kind of like things that are kind of aesthetically pleasing, that look nice. These look very bleh. These color schemes too. Like, none of these characters are like, I don't want to really play any of them. And I think that's the biggest thing too.
To basically make this whole thing work. They had 8 years. 8 years of working on this to promote it and to make something good, and it just didn't turn out good. And now people are rejecting it, but now you're making excuses, acting like that week and a half period was the only thing. At that point, Sony shut it down to stop the bleeding because it was that embarrassing and bad for their image, and it was just going to cost them more money. And we see similar excuses from another journalist saying this: "My heart breaks for Firewalk Studios. The fact that it wasn't even given at least 6 months to properly sit through a season and adjust as a proper live service game is insane to me. It's very clear that PlayStation didn't believe in this from the start and failed to support it." Yeah, PlayStation didn't believe in this, yet they gave them 8 years to work on it and infinite resources, but they didn't believe in them, right? But also you can see here, they talk about this window of 6 months. Here's the issue. Only a few days ago, before the shutdown announcement was even made,
are you gonna mention the beta?
At any given point, there was only a few dozen players in this game. You think 6 months from now, there would be more players? They can barely even get queues going because this is a 5v5 matchup game, okay? They are already struggling to even fill queues. You think it would be better in 5 or 6 months? There's no way. This game was dying. Less and less people were showing up every single day. It was clearly on a downward trajectory, and that was going to continue. But again, the excuses. This logic seems very simple, but apparently to award-winning journalists, it's not that easy to understand.
What award did they win?
Now, this tweet has gotten a lot of attention and support, and I think it's a absolute stinker. So it's gaming Twitter needs to hear this one. "You think it's cool to hate things, it's not, it's boring. So talk about what you love and keep quiet about what you don't." Obviously, the irony is not lost on me here, so they're making a tweet where the message is, don't talk about things you hate, while they also talk about things that they hate. But
we wouldn't talk about things you hate if you made better products. I don't know. That's just me. Maybe don't start putting a bunch of stupid shit in stuff that's already good. That's I don't know. That seems like a very... That doesn't seem that hard of a concept. I don't know.
But on top of that, this toxic positivity is a real issue. This
There
is
we
why
go.
we have so many
Toxic
participation
positivity.
trophies in society, and this is why mediocrity is always celebrated and coddled, just like it is with Concord, okay?
That's why they're blaming everybody but themselves. That's why they're blaming Sony. That's why they're blaming gamers. Oh, you didn't like it. Oh, it's everybody else's fault. Can't take responsibility for your failure. Again, you made a game that does not look very good that no one wants to see.
People didn't choose Concord, okay?
And where are those people too? Like, these people defending, where were they? Look, are they part of the 75 people? Because all that shows me is then, yeah, this game had no, of course, was never going to succeed. You're going, this modern audience isn't, I can't even say really doesn't exist, or if this is your modern audience, it's not very, pretty much, like, this is, if this is your modern audience, you really need to go look for a different audience. This is not a profitable place. Like, sure, it's cool to make things on your own, like, that you want to make. That's awesome. But this is a AAA game. At some point, you need to, if you're going to get AAA money, AAA funds, you need to get AAA returns. Or you need to, you know, preferably branch out to appeal to everybody, a general audience, not just the ones that you agree with socially. And that's what kind of messes up here. And like,
The numbers,
again, I'm going to go back to, it's an ugly game. I've seen a bit of gameplay. It doesn't look completely horrible, but it's like, no one wants to play this, especially when you got something like Overwatch. Overwatch can talk, the devs at Blizzard can say how much they don't like the whole Rule 34 crap and whatnot, but let's be honest, they kind of know where their bread and butter is, regardless where that is in a way. Like, those characters are at least aesthetically pleasing. They're very cute. Even the male characters are very handsome. I mean, go look who they freaking added, Juno, and what the hell she looks like. They know what people come for now. I didn't mean that to be a pun, but, you know, take that as you will. But anyway, sorry.
are right there. This was not a good product, and we should stop acting like it is. People are allowed to point this out and criticize it. Nobody is enjoying hating on this game. They are criticizing a very bad product that really deserved to fail, because it's not just that it's a...
Yeah, I don't really take I don't have any schadenfreude regardless of this game's failure. It's more like, you know what's wrong. They know what's wrong, but they don't want to admit why it failed. Journalists don't want to admit. These devs don't want to admit.
Bad product. The people behind it love to talk about things they hate, including the entire demographic of people based on the color of their skin. And the lead character designer here making negative...
The second I saw white privilege, or white must acknowledge their privilege, holy shit, my head hurts. For the record, I'm not white. I'm Hispanic, and I hate this stupid fucking thing, this white privilege crap. What the fuck does this even mean anymore? Like, half these people who probably live in a very comfortable life are probably more privileged, and they're not even white. It's like, god damn it.
Comments about that. On top of that, you have an ex-developer from the studio saying that people who criticize this game are a bunch of talentless freaks. They have no issue talking about things they hate, including their own customers, but now you're going to lecture people about that. It's insane. Let's move on to the next set of tweets here, the lay empathy route here. So this person says, hot take, I don't think we should celebrate it when tone-deaf executives get to keep their jobs while the devs that slaved away at a project that went through development hell for 8 years are let go. Yes, you didn't like the game. Aim the hate at the right people. So they're right in one regard, okay? It is frustrating that the executives are going to get away with this.
Most people do. They know it's a scam at this point. Oh yeah, people are waking up now. It's taken a while, but people are waking up. They know this crap is bullshit. And this guy, yeah, I mean, executives, of course, although I'd say it's also tone-deaf developers. Because none of them seem to really, there is this kind of disconnect between developers and publishers and the customer, and there really shouldn't be. And I think I think a lot of this, because a lot of the journalists are defending this, they're the ones that are kind of muddling the message. I think that's that's probably why they're getting really pissy at us too, because I think they are starting to kind of realize that their jobs are kind of in danger, because they're kind of looking at things and thinking they may not be necessarily needed. Journalists really don't anymore, in a sense. I mean, how many people really go to websites for journalist opinions on things? You usually go to, like, you'll watch like Rev or dare I say, Arcadia, or side scrollers, or even Asmongold, other people talking about these things and giving you their insight. You don't really go to journalists because half of them are paid off, or half of them already are barely well journalists. They're activists. They clearly have an agenda. So hopefully more people start seeing that too.
Developers and other people below them, but the people on the top, they're going to keep their jobs, and probably because of these layoffs, they might end up with a bonus. That's how crazy things are. But I am not going to feel bad for these developers who, as we just saw, clearly have a disdain for a lot of gamers, but also this mention of development hell for 8 years. With all of that staff and all of those resources, it is unbelievable that after 8 years, this is the product that came out. A lot of people are questioning what they did during that long time period. And on top of that, you're not going to garner a lot of sympathy with people on Twitter when the developers were getting paid 6 figures. Okay,
Jesus Christ.
You're kind of barking up the wrong tree here. But let's move on to this.
Oh, this
idiot.
Right
this is a crazy one. I think this is the first screenshot of a tweet that has pronouns, okay? At the bottom here, you have ex-Kotaku journalist here, Jason Schreier, basically
I'm blocked by him, by the way, because I mentioned the whole Blizzard thing.
trying to make excuses for this game's failure, and also saying the most annoying people on the planet will be there to blame this whole thing on diversity. And then they're quote retweeted by the...
No, it's because you made a game that looks ugly. I'll keep on that. I don't even think it's, like I said, I don't think it's the DEI crap. I don't think it's diversity. Games like Overwatch, a lot of games can have diversity, but it's not really their sticking point. This game just does not look fun. It does not look pretty. Unless that's like it's the 90s and your whole thing is gross out type of art and whatnot, it's probably not going to sell.
The Verge journalist Ash Parrish, who says, tap the F out of this sign, please. And then that is retweeted by Kotaku's Alyssa Mercante.
Of course.
Who, of course, had something to say about this. She is now wagging her finger at you and judging your character, saying this: if you're celebrating regular people losing their jobs, you're a piece of shit who probably has gingivitis. As always with her tweets, projection. But also, we all know.
Yeah, to Eddie, every fucking tweet she does is nothing but massive projection.
With 100% certainty that if someone who is ideologically opposed to her, especially someone who is white, lost their job in a similar fashion, she would be mocking it too. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, she is someone who has promoted racism and ageism in her own field of journalism. She has made tweets like this celebrating ageism
Anti-Pretty is part of DEI.
People. She is literally celebrating and promoting a theory that would make people lose job opportunities, and now she is judging you over people celebrating people losing their job opportunities. This
person she cannot lose her job fast enough.
It's ridiculous.
I'm kind of making a concerted effort to never talk about her, but she cannot lose her job fast enough. Kotaku cannot shut down fast enough. The day that happens, I will laugh.
And also keep in mind, this tweet right here happens, right? 1 year later, she makes an article talking about ageism in the industry, and this was praised by her colleagues. That is how corrupt and insane that industry is. But anyways, I want to read one more thread here about this. So this individual would pop off saying this: the comments around Concord from right-wing gamers shows the power of collective self-deception. Wow, I'm 14 and this is deep. This is ridiculous because basically they're trying to say that all the criticism of this game is from right-wing gamers, implying that people on the left would like this game. So why didn't they show up then? Why didn't they show up and play this game? It's very...
Always ask them that question, they'll get oddly quiet. Said that with the Acolyte. Why did it get canceled? Why? Where were we all when y'all... Where were we all? Where were all these fans? I thought this was... What happened to that hashtag? There are more of us. And, you know, that show fucking floundered hard after every fucking week. Notice how they'll never answer that. They'll never give you an answer. They'll get oddly quiet about it.
Very weird. I know people watching this video are on the left, and they also don't like Concord. So that's such a cop-out. It is literally self-deception. This person is doing exactly what they're describing. But they continue on saying, if you say delusional stuff about DEI enough times and build a conspiracy-focused narrative, they start seeing that false narrative everywhere. So they are complaining about conspiracy theories while literally promoting a conspiracy theory. I'd love to hear what conspiracy theory they have made or they have discovered about Concord and its failure. I don't really know what they're referring to, but then they ended by saying, I guess we have to live with this now. What a victim. Wow, that's a really tough life. You're going to have to live with this reality.
Oh no, this video game you probably didn't play is gone. And you... Oh no, whatever.
That you literally concocted for
what will they do?
Your own hysteria, and you're going to have to live with it now. Well, there's some good news here. I actually have a solution to this whole painful existence. You could just log out of Twitter.
I was going to say, you can just get out of the industry. Just, step away from video games.
Yeah, that seems like this is a big problem. If you have an issue like that, just log out of Twitter. Problem solved. Super easy. But their thread continues saying,
oh boy, they can never just, they can't fucking condense this to one goddamn tweet. Jesus. Also, I find that the guy who's complaining about what right wing has a little check mark. So I guess he's not too above giving money to Elon Musk.
Emotional response is just standard bigotry and nothing new. Except now there are grifters putting on a four-act stage play about how capital owners have gone woke and therefore no longer care about the profit motive for some reason. So right off the bat, again, they're blaming this all on bigotry, not fair criticism, not people responding to the awful stuff some of the developers and designers.
I'd say also take a shot anytime someone uses the word grifter and doesn't seem to incorrectly
on the team have said about gamers, but it's all just bigotry. And I know people like this where
it's the go-to
when I'm saying this video is somehow the product of bigotry, when I'm just criticizing them. Everything that looks like criticism is labeled as bigotry by people like this, and it's just sad to see. But on top of that, they're saying that all these capital owners have gone woke, and this is some conspiracy theory they're making, and they've lost this motive for profit. I really think they have. There's been a lot of games that have absolutely failed by pandering to some virtue signaling nonsense, and then there's games that do the opposite and they succeed. Oh, I hope I wish we had an example of this that's happening in real time. Oh wait, we do. We saw the virtue signaling campaigns of Dustborn and also Concord instantly fail, but in that same week, we had Black Myth Wukong with Game Science, their developer, who rejected Sweet Baby Inc. And guess what happened? Their game is
popped off hard.
It is still going strong to this day. Look at the chart. It is getting...
It's amazing. The mental gymnastics somehow exhaust me, and I'm not even the one doing it. It's basically, it's like following a goddamn map.
Consistent, strong showing of...
a map of your circulatory system. That's how bad it is.
Players every
I haven't played this game yet.
Its release.
I heard it's pretty good.
That is a game that wanted nothing to do with politics or virtue signaling, and look how it's doing. I think the gaming industry could learn a thing or two about what's happened over the past couple of weeks. But will they learn? Probably not. But that's going to do it for this video.
One can only hope.
I appreciate you guys listening. Feel free to share your thoughts.
I mean, hopefully this is just a sign of Sony maybe realizing they need to cut some loss. They need to cut some of this crap out and maybe make some actual games. Hopefully with Astrobot, which I've heard like really good things about. Looks like a really fun game. Looks like Mario. Like a good old-fashioned Mario, like... what was it? Mario Galaxy type of game. And if that's the case, hell yeah, I'd play it. If I had a PS5, I'd play it. But anyway, we'll move on to some other one. I don't know if they're going to talk about any of these other things here, but I did listen a little bit to both these two guys talk, and they're pretty smart guys. I want to hear what they have to say regarding this stuff.
I know you guys aren't like following the gaming community like every day.
And like I say, sorry they're repeating stuff, but
so Warren, what do you know about?
I do feel like this whole thing is kind of important about these types of games, like how bad it did, because this is like ET bad. It's like I think they'll mention that, like how ET was a massive flop back in the Atari 2600 games, and to the point where they had to get rid of every single copy and, that whole landfill type of thing. So this is a kind of an important thing. As much as I don't like this game, and as much as I like this and Dustborn, and part of me doesn't want to care, this is a big fucking moment. So let's, but yeah, sorry. Let's go back into this.
The game. Have you heard about this game at all? Do you know anything about it?
No, I have not. I don't know anything about it.
Okay, that's actually very telling. So this game Concord was released for the PlayStation.
This man bought 2 copies because they announced it that it was shutting down like maybe 10 minutes into this show. So he drove all the way to Best Buy, streamed it on the show, and he bought 2 copies. And apparently, like, if I remember correctly, the Best Buy clerk laughed at him for buying it too. He's rich, boys.
5, 11
Anyway.
days ago. 11 days ago. Now this is a $40 game that was released, and when the trailer was first dropped, it was definitely not met with a positive outlook on it. This is a game that is number one, very ugly. Number two is fairly dated in the way its gameplay style is, and then kind of the cherry on top of it is that there's a lot of like DEI that's thrown into the game. Like robots have pronouns. Every character is some sort of pronouns. There's like they just try to squeeze this stuff in, right? So what has happened with the game Concord is the gaming community emphatically has
he needs to get the games assignment. I don't know. They probably never return it or something.
rejected the game.
If he tried mailing it to them.
Now, we see games fail all the time, but we don't see first-party Sony games fail all the time. And this is a game that Sony got behind, and they were releasing a video game controller. I think there was a custom PlayStation 5 that was released, and the game itself was released, and as of yesterday, Sony announced that they're shutting it down 10 days after launch because of the extremely low player count. Now, Warren, when I say extremely low player count, when it comes to a game, what do you think that would be? Well, what is a extremely low player count for a game that is
Quidditch was extremely low. It seems.
I think that's fair.
I think
I also want to interject here because I think
it was
might
always
be underselling just
double
how
digits
woke
now,
the game
or at the
was.
point it was.
Out of 16 playable characters, they didn't have a single white male.
Yeah, it was.
Was there just one?
I think there was one.
Wasn't there? I felt like there was.
Alien guy that was like passively white or based on a white person. It would be like calling Teal'c a black guy. Like, I guess technically.
I have no idea who that is.
With that said, yes, I may have been underselling the wokeness aspect of it. Now, I personally think that is a surface level reason why the game failed, right?
I agree.
I said this before many times. Ultimately, your first impression is what you see, right? You don't have a chance to play the game if you don't like what you see initially, right? So, I go back to the analogy of like when you were a kid, you look on the back of a box or you look in a magazine and you say, that game looks cool, I want to check it out. Now we look on Twitter or we see a gameplay trailer and we're like, oh, okay, that looks cool, or oh, that game looks like crap, right? And we make a decision. We make our first decision. Back to the question, Warren. You said
even more so considering YouTube. We can watch gameplay now. We didn't used to be able to do that back then. It was just we just went by the back of the box or the magazine, and now we have gameplay. We have people running it at very optimal set. Well, I guess optimal 60 frames is usually the go-to, which is which is a good setting, or 30 if you're with like a Nintendo game. But yeah, so they had every opportunity now, and it still didn't do very well. People looked at them like, ugh.
You thought Quidditch was a very low player count.
Yeah.
Right. So if I was to tell you that this game that Sony got behind, this is a major initiative with a controller, custom PlayStation 5, had a total of 50 players playing it right now, and less than 1,000 players at its peak. A game that the company itself that was developing.
I gotta wonder what those last-minute numbers were.
Because Sony thought so much of this game that they went in and they bought the company. Like they went and they played this game like, we gotta have this game. And they spent X millions of dollars acquiring the company, right? And then they spent 8 years developing this game. And then it released, and the game was out for just as many fingers and fingers as you, not even toes, as many fingers as you have. That's how many days it was out before Sony pulled the plug on it, and on top of pulling the plug, giving everybody refunds back. So they are totally they are going to attempt to retcon Concord in a major way and just pretend like it never happened. And
most
yesterday
likely
was a very, very, very big day when it comes to the voice of gamers. I feel like we're going to look back on yesterday and be like, I think that may have been a strong turning point, not for Sony, but for the entire industry, to where you hear people saying over and over again, hey, we don't like what you're putting out. And these developers are saying, no, you're going to like it because we're going to shove it in your face and you're going to like it.
And I think that's the biggest insulting thing, is that these people think that you're just going to like any little thing. They think you're stupid. I think that's the big thing. They think gamers are stupid. Like, oh, they'll play anything. And clearly, no, we will not. This very much does mirror a lot. Well, actually, no, I'll wait. I'll let him cook a little bit, because I think I remember talking about something I'm thinking about right now.
Very, very strong message. So upon hearing that, Warren, before we get to the reaction of the media and everything associated with this, I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. I can't imagine them making like the sponsor of the PlayStation 5 and special editions. I wonder what they saw in it when they first played it that would cause them to acquire that, and I wonder how large of a financial hit this is.
I think it is, like I said, that disconnect between publishers and consumers. I'm pretty sure there was some whispering in their ear. They're like, "Are you sure people are gonna like this?" Like, no, they're gonna love this. Gamers are gonna eat this up. Don't listen to those vocal minority of those racist bigots. And well,
given how much they spent on it, I'm curious to see what was so flawed about it. I mean, I've heard your criticism so far, but it must be pretty bad.
Well, I would say the biggest thing about the game is that it's $40. Most games in the same market are free to play. So,
well, I will say when the first Overwatch came out, it was $40. But again, that game looked pretty. A lot of people really liked the look of those characters. So your
cost $40, and most games you just kind of pick up and play, or you download and you're in it. The sheer undesirability of the players in the game, the actual characters themselves, kind of they're
very ugly looking
of the game itself. I'm gonna hold up the box art here, right? So this box art here, you can see a guy. It kind of has like a Guardians of the Galaxy style look to it, right? A couple alien guys. There are some other characters. There's one that looks like a trash can. There's another one that is it looks like a girl, but it's actually a guy, and it's like super overweight blabs. You can pull that up. That'd be great. But I want to kind of put this in perspective. So I have an insider who works at a very big retailer across the United States.
Ooh.
Right? So, and they have access to the numbers that the game has sold, the pre-orders, the returns on the pre-orders. And I put this tweet out yesterday. My insider has been very good to me. And I said, regarding Concord, my insider told me in June, July, and August, Concord had only 231 pre-orders company-wide. 91 of them were canceled before the shutdown of the game. So they sold 140 copies of Concord in 900 stores. So that's roughly one copy of Concord for every 6 stores. It's a giant statement, I think, by the gaming audience. I think
that's really bad.
Layers and like when you hear the media talk about this, you're gonna be like, "Oh, those bigots online, they got their way, whatever." But nobody here is saying the game failed because of DEI. I think what I'm saying is that it failed because it didn't get people in the door to try it out. It didn't. The value proposition of $40.
I agree with that.
To outweigh
completely.
Several free-to-play products that are already better than it, right? And that's the bigger thing. But you got to get people in the door first. But
I would say I think DEI is a big part of the reason it failed. I know that it may have been unpleasing from a gameplay perspective, but the model that it was using is a model that has done well before. If you look at gameplay, it looks responsive and fairly decent to play. I could see it have attracted an audience. I think going into the market these days with this level of DEI is like 5 years ago going into the market with a game that was just obviously like super racist. Not that it wasn't racist, but I mean racist in a way that would have triggered, progressive sensibilities. I think that there is just this, and I will note here, I do not think that people avoid DEI coded games because of the DEI. I think they avoid it in the same way that in the 90s, everybody avoided games that were based off of like movies, where everyone was like, oh, those games are always bad. I think that it just has such a correlation with a really bad gameplay experience.
That's how people who are disconnected always end up. We are too stupid to think properly, and they must teach us. Pretty much.
In an overpriced game, that it codes in the same way that movie licensed games coded in the 90s.
I don't know about that. Because I know a lot of those games, in these times, DI and bridges, yeah, but I don't know, I'm not really sure I agree with Malcolm in terms of movie games, because a lot of movie games, a lot of people really did like, and I know a lot of, like, you know, we go to AVGN and stuff, like, talk about, like, games like Friday the 13th and, Nightmare on Elm Street, even the Terminator games, people played those games. Even Batman, like, I don't think that's the best example of movie games, because there are a lot of good movie games. And two, I don't feel like a lot of people avoided them back then. Not as much. You know, back in the NES days, in the 90s, we was still kind of, sort of in its infancy, or in its rebirth, I guess. Especially if you want to go toward, you know, after the video game crash, when they were, like, Nintendo came out, and, you know, they were more marketing gaming to kids and whatnot. You know, we didn't really know any better. But we played them. And even then, looking back at Friday the 13th, it's not that bad of a game. A little rough. No rough around the edges than any other Nintendo game, but I don't know if I can completely agree with him on that. So I feel like I kind of see where he's going. I would say maybe like Bible games, or like, what is it? A lot of I'd say Bible games, like those types of games that's what you'd stay away from, because one, it's a Bible game, and look, who wants to play that? I don't want to play Super, like, Noah's Ark or whatever the hell.
I agree in that. Just people in the chat are saying like, no, I think DEI played a big role in it, right? I think this goes back to the statement I said before, right? You gotta show people a product that they want to play first and foremost, right?
Right.
And I think the DEI was the window dressing that you see, right? It's the wrapping on the gift that you got, right? And if the gift looks ugly, you don't want to go and, or you go to the store and you want to buy the latest cereal, right? The cereal could be outstanding inside the box, but if the wrapping on it is disgusting or stupid looking, nobody's going to buy it. It's all marketing. Right. And yeah, I do think that the marketing failed, and I do think that the DEI aspect of it very much is a big part of that. Now,
I mean, I think it's like how you said, Gen Trash, like, ugly is a part of DEI. Even though I don't think they meant to that was their intention. It's not a pretty looking game. I don't think, because I don't feel like the regular people really look this much into DEI or Bridge or any of that stuff. They just don't. But if it just doesn't look appealing to them, or it just happens to be DEI and it looks kind of unappealing, they're just not going to buy it. It's not even a race thing. It's just, it's ugly. And I know that's like my biggest thing I've been saying about it, but if it's that bad, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, there it is. It's just not good looking at all. And again, would you rather have play this game, or would you rather go play Overwatch? I know Overwatch is kind of obviously not as, it's kind of a shell almost of its form, what it used to be, but you can kind of see where I'm going with this. Or dare I say even TF2, an older game like TF2. Like, you're gonna go to the one that actually looks nicer. And that's not, I don't think that's what these devs even saw. Again, 8 years, and they didn't think, maybe we should actually make a game that actually looks nice. No, let's make this game that put a bunch of weird colors and all these ugly ass looking people.
Sony go out of its way and be like, look, these characters all have pronouns. No, they didn't. But what happened was, social media got a hold of it and said, like, wait, why does the robot have they them pronouns, right?
Yeah.
They did base one of the characters on a famous trans singer, and I'm sure they paid to license the person's likeness.
Yeah.
This is a character I think called Baz or Mila or something. I don't know. But I am pretty sure that they had planned on.
I think I know who he's talking about.
They might just have pushed out.
Like the one that looks like Thugnificent?
Possibly, but this goes back to a larger question, right? I think, these games are made for the, quote, modern audience. You hear this all the time. We're making this for the modern audience. The modern audience does not exist. It is and this has been pointed out many times, the idea that it doesn't exist yet, but
they're trying to make the
develop
modern audience,
this
modern audience,
and make all these things acceptable to a younger audience, to where they will eventually be the modern audience, right? The modern audience is this right here. The modern audience is the 42 people who are playing Concord and the 9 people playing Dustborn, right? There is no modern audience. But it's a really fascinating conversation to see.
But they're not trying to appeal to a modern audience. They're trying to make a modern audience, and I think Craig's kind of got something on here. We're trying to get these on kids, but kids generally go toward what the older people generally play. That's kind of how it works, or what they think the older kids play. That's kind of like how we used to do when we were younger. You would probably play the games that you think the older kids were playing, or watch the things that the older kids were playing. They're not playing this.
The failure associated with it, so much so that when you go to the Concord page on PlayStation.com, the game doesn't even exist anymore.
They're scrubbing
totally
this.
scrapped
Hey, Astrobot.
The idea of Concord.
Adorable. Look at him.
Their website. And the memes of this were outstanding yesterday. We saw all sorts of, like, this came down and Kick was like, hey, exciting news, we just added a Concord category. Stream this game and a new hero shooter on Kick.
Wow.
Kick. And, you know, people pass that around. It's pretty funny. We saw G Prime, who's been on our show the other day. He's a cartoonist, and he had this. He says, hey, Concord, you doing all right, buddy? It's been a while. And you go up and
That's messed up.
he's hanging from the rafters up there.
Every day I imagine a future
rough.
where I can be with you.
And then we saw the aspect of people are trying to, like, level themselves up, and I don't really understand what's happening here, but apparently, like, Concord players are like, people are in the game, like all the dozens of people who are playing this game are going in and throwing them off cliffs to max to try to grind as fast as they possibly can.
It probably gives one experience per game played, so they're trying to end the game as quickly as possible.
Right. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just a thing that's kind of happening, which
but it's just so dumb, because, like, this game is going to be non-existent. So what's the point of grinding it? Be like,
I think it's just achievement hunting. That's about it.
like, oh, I completed this game that doesn't.
I
exist
platinum
anymore. I'm a
Concord.
hardcore
What? What's
gamer.
that?
Like, I don't understand that.
well, maybe they're trying to get the PlayStation trophies.
There you go.
That could be a thing. You know, they say, hey, I'm the one who got the Concord PlayStation trophy. Like,
Maybe.
I'm the guy.
No, just you know.
Yeah, that's what you're gonna put. That's gonna look great on your Tinder account.
You said yesterday how you think it'll actually come back as, like, a free-to-play game, which I'm kind of like, you've kind of convinced me a little bit on that. Maybe somehow their points and things carry over to the free-to-play game, and so they have some type of, like, bonus.
That's more like how they're gonna monetize it. I don't know much about the game itself, to be honest.
Warren, you're hearing all this for the first time when it comes to this game. I would just love to hear your general thoughts on everything that you've heard so far. By the way, we're going to get to more memes here because they're brilliant. But go ahead, Warren.
It sounds like one of the worst failures in video games that I've ever heard of. That's really, really bad. But it reminds me kind of, we were talking about YouTube and YouTube videos. What makes a good YouTube video? And if it just, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how good the title, the thumbnail is, if there's not a solid story, or if the video is not good, and depending on what kind of content you're doing, that's going to mean something different. If the game is not good at the end of the day, I think that is what's going to have the most impact, even more so than DEI elements, which I'm sure there are some of that here, but it sounds like it was just a not good game. They couldn't compete with free to play. So sounds like a big failure to me.
Yeah, I think there's definitely an element to that for sure. But let's go ahead and continue here, because we saw people, like I said, the memes of this were great. This is from Ross Tweets Games yesterday. He's like,
oh yeah, there you go.
Was nice to get out of the house and leave the internet behind for a bit. Did a bit of shopping and finally bought Concord. Can't play until Saturday, but looking forward to trying it out. Right. Saw this a lot yesterday. We're like, ooh, laughing about it and stuff. And GameStop was
Ooh,
like,
Peggy
I got
12.
some bad news for you. Which was, pretty funny stuff because the game will be shut down in 3 days. So I guess 2 days now. So it's not even going to make it to Saturday. So you can't even try it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's just crazy.
Go ahead, Malcolm.
I wonder if financially it'd be interesting to compare the failure of this with something like the ET game that was seen as the harbinger of a major change in the way the video game industry worked.
So it's funny you mentioned that because we talked about that at length yesterday. And I think just from a financial standpoint, a publicity standpoint, I think Concord is the biggest flop in video game history.
It could be.
ET.
Bigger than ET. Ooh.
Yeah. You know how many copies ET sold?
How many?
A million.
Oh.
You know how many copies this game sold? 25,000.
Jesus Christ, that's really bad.
They didn't make a custom ET controller. They didn't make a custom PlayStation 5. They didn't make special editions. ET wasn't in development for 4 years, whatever it was. The company that was making ET, which by the way was one guy.
That's not that big of a thing. Is one guy. A lot of Atari games could be made by one guy. If I'm not mistaken, it was more of the time constraint of how long they had to make that game. But
who made ET? That company wasn't acquired because they thought it was such a hit. So I think ET is going to have a bigger impact on the video game industry, but I think that Concord, in every metric, is a bigger failure, possibly the biggest failure in video game history, and that's coming we've had so many failures this year in the video game space.
Right.
Suicide Squad, Concord, Dustborn to a lower extent. Dustborn wasn't meant to succeed, right? Assassin's Creed is going to fail. Star Wars Outlaws is in a bad place, underperforming. Some say up to 55% lower than what.
The only thing with Dustborn is that they essentially got government money, so they're probably not going to feel anything. The thing is about ET is it wasn't just ET that led to the video game crash in '83. Also, it's kind of a misnomer in and of itself because it just affected North America. It's just that ET was more of a symbol. It was just the most popular of failed games. It was kind of a symbol of pretty much other companies that had no business making games. Because it was these people giving this very small time constraint to one developer to make an ET game. It was other companies like Kool-Aid, like Pepsi, like Purina. Purina is for those who don't know, is a company that makes dog food. They were making Atari games, and it was an oversaturation of a market. In a sense, it's kind of parallel to those games like Suicide Squad or, again, Dustborn and what we're talking about here, Concord. It's that the people who have no business making games, and they have no real understanding of it. The people who made those games pretty much think that we're stupid, that gamers will just buy anything, and that's clearly not the fucking case. So like I say, it's as George Lucas said, it's poetry, it rhymes. Just people who really do not understand this landscape and are trying so desperately to change it, and it's not working. I don't know if this one's going to be as bad, even though, Concord and all these games are global. It's on a world scale, but yeah, I don't think it's going to be as big as, say, how ET and those other games screwed up in the 80s. Because that was just one developer. Or that was just technically affecting one part of the world because of one console, the 2600, which was kind of there were other ones, but that's the big one back in the 70s, or 70s and 80s. So I don't know if that really affected. Hopefully this actually scares, again, developers and companies to say we need to really start kind of easing back on DEI and all this crap. Because, the money they're getting from these companies like SBI and whatnot, it's not worth it.
It was expected to sell. We've seen so many failures in the video game space, but we've also, on the other side of things, seen so many successes. Black Myth Wukong being one of the fastest selling games in history, selling 11 million copies in 3 days. And when you look at the polarities between Concord, this kind of...
You could have also said Helldivers, and they probably would have kept succeeding if Sony just kept their freaking mouth shut and done not try to force that stupid login thing. Well, that and maybe Helldivers community managers should shut the hell up too. I don't know.
DEI dribble, right? With poor window dressing, versus a game like Black Myth Wukong, which is built around crazy monkeys running around, hacking and slashing. Then you got a game like Stellar Blade, which is built around, sexy women with cleavage, doing some hacking and slashing. That game was a tremendous success. You see, like, the audience is telling you exactly what they want. It's yesterday. It's good.
We want games that are fun. There you go.
Games with hot women. Hey, it's real simple.
Yeah, it's interesting. But one,
More or
I thought,
less.
like, who would think that men would want, hot women in their games, right? Like,
But not even just that. Like I said, they just want games that are fun. They want games that look cool and cute and, well, again, fun. Fun. And I'm going to keep saying the word fun. In the words of Reggie, if the game's not fun, why bother? There you go.
Interesting, one, how they've explicitly taken that out of a lot of games. But when you were saying that you thought that it might have a lower impact than ET on the gaming space, I think what's really interesting and what's transitioned societally from the time of the ET crash to this current crash we're having within the games industry right now is that the game space is so large now that if there is a cultural retreat or reset in the game space, it can reset culture societally. And this is something that's been really clear to me when I go to like NatCon or like some other like mainstream Beltway conservative stuff, and they are just completely unaware of the battles that are happening in the game space right now and how much of these battles are going to reset. Because if you look at like the amount of money that's made by the video games industry, I think it's more than any other entertainment industry right now, or is it more than all other entertainment industries combined?
I believe it's still the biggest.
The video game industry generates more revenue than TV and movies combined.
There we go.
Yeah, so if we're looking at...
I mean, that's kind of why, Bridge and all this DEI is there for, because they know that's the biggest audience.
This is really, if it turns out that
that's probably why they're pushing these games as much as they are,
appealing to this quote-unquote new audience, right, really is a death knell for a product, and companies begin to fastidiously move away from doing this, this will shift not the direction of the game industry, but the directions of the entire social battle we're facing right now, which is really fascinating to me. Part of me wonders if, given how captured these large bureaucracies are, if that's even possible. Because yes, they may realize now, okay, people aren't going to want to buy this, but how can they change course when every layer of their company have thought police, right? That's something that I keep thinking about. Is it just that they're going to be replaced by Eastern media companies and small game developers? Or is there the real possibility to course correct within the large bureaucracy?
That is...
I think what you're going to see is, and I think it literally starts with Concord. I think that
I would hope so.
Too big of a failure between the $200 million loss of Suicide Squad. I think that if the video game industry doesn't learn from what they've seen from Concord over the last 2 weeks and the build up to it, the video game industry won't learn. Like it's too big of a stab to the abdomen of the video game industry and too much of a sore spot for if other developers, other publishers don't look at Concord and they don't listen, nothing will change. But I do think that if there was ever an opportunity for things to change and for changes to be made inside these companies and getting rid of all this nonsense, I think this is a great start to do it.
Yeah, I would hope so. Unless we're going on this, I guess conspiracy theory. Well, I mean, for all I know, it could very much be true of these just simply the attempt of devaluing all these companies so they can be bought out by other bigger conglomerates, namely ones from China. And if you want to go to that type of 4D chess, I'm not sure. I wouldn't technically be surprised, but I kind of feel like there's not much of an I don't feel like that would be a really good thing to be doing intentionally. So I would like to think Sony's like, okay, we need to cut some fat, and preferably it's going to go with this DEI stuff, these departments, and just not giving money. Resistance is still building, but it's still a coin flip, yes, sadly. So I mean, hopefully they kind of realize maybe we should actually just start making games. Maybe we should just not just cut our losses, get rid of these, type of DEI department, not giving money to these consultancy groups because they're not worth their weight at all. Hopefully, but I do not know. Is there more?
Warren, what are your thoughts on the cultural impact of something like this?
I'm trying to. It's hard for me because I haven't seen the game. I mean, I've heard you discuss a bit about the DEI elements. It depends on how extensive those DEI. Okay, all right.
So in this image, this is one of the characters. If you notice at the top right, I know it's a bit hard to see. Let me see if I can try to zoom in. There we go. She, her. This is
yeah, that matters.
Character designs. These are the other characters.
Are their pronouns buffs or what?
Interesting. So there's no white men, is what you're saying. All right.
That first one?
This guy right here would be considered the whitey.
The whitey. Nice.
I feel like some people have got to. There's going to have to be some people that are fired. It seems like for such a huge mistake.
They might have to shut down the company.
I think you're right that this is the biggest failure in video game history. I've never heard of anything like this, where you go out and buy the game, come home, and they're like, sorry, we're shutting the game down and we're going to have to refund your money. I've never heard of that. So I'm just asking myself, how much of this was this a boycott versus was this a failed product that didn't, they're two different kind of, or was it a combination? But I think that's when you play these stupid games, it results in a stupid product that inevitably fails. You don't even need that boycott element so much.
I don't think it wasn't a boycott though. There was no organized people saying we're not going to buy this. This is just people going, yeah, I'm not going to buy it. It wasn't like taking a stand. It didn't look good. It didn't look appealing to anybody, so therefore no one bought it. That's it. Simple.
But I do think that you are correct that there is a lot of frustration amongst gamers, and many people are just not messing with this stuff. So
yeah, I mean the bright color, in nature, bright colors usually mean poisonous.
Warren, you mentioned the idea of a boycott. The interesting thing about this is that there was no coordinated effort at all to not buy this game.
There you go.
Like, we're not going to buy Concord to stick it to Sony. It was just no. Like the response was like, we don't want this. Nobody wants this. Here are the characters, by the way, and here's here's your white character here. It's Ranger here, or him right here. You can see as it goes along, these are the.
It looks effing stupid. There you go. His costume looks dumb
along the way, and their setups.
She looks like the most normal.
They definitely went the diverse route. And like I said, I don't care. Like if I said this yesterday. I don't care about.
He looks like a character I'd see like in maybe Mass Effect, maybe Guardians, or maybe Star Wars. Now I don't know.
Like, I think diversity is fine, right?
Blech.
Just let's make it realistic. This girl here, who is clearly overweight, right, is not going to be a very good action hero, right?
Weird looking.
A game, right? And I realize I'm talking about a game about space aliens.
The hell is that?
But at the same time, like.
That looks. I don't like the look of this helmet. It looks overly. It doesn't match the suit. In terms of proportion, that kind of looks like Yondu from Guardians of the Galaxy. At least the hair. Maybe that's what's giving me that vibe. Again, the colors. The color is just.
That character itself, specifically the overweight one, was one of the marquee characters in the game. And it's like
again, ugly colors.
Who are you selling this to? Like, and
it looks like Wish from Juno from Overwatch, but you got it for Wish.com. Also, or like the what's his face is Token from South Park, his little superhero persona. Like, what is it, Tupperware Man or whatever the hell?
When you look at the character design here, let's analyze. Oh crap! Let's analyze that character itself. Like, what the hell are we looking at with this character in particular?
She has.
What the hell is that?
Tupperware on her head.
Like scuba diving gear.
I feel like they're targeting Fortnite players.
Are they?
Traffic. The problem is that it's already oversaturated, that marketplace. There's free to play.
Again, not over. Fortnite has like cartoony like characters.
And those products they've already taken over. So it's just a doomed business strategy from the get-go.
By the way, they, them,
Yeah, I've never seen that. But have you guys ever seen pronouns in a game before? Is it just me?
Not in a character
Quidditch
selection.
champions.
I was gonna say, create character creations. That's about it. Now you kind of see them. I know Starfield had it.
Well.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, wow.
Just in case you're curious, Warren, there's some gameplay for you. Very much like Overwatch.
But I don't like this gameplay.
I love the pronouns are above their bios and right next to their level. Like it's the most sort of visually core feature.
This isn't good gameplay, mostly because it's like really slow and choppy.
Of who they are.
Right. And that's the big thing. Like, could you imagine if you were?
I don't feel like that was a very fair look at the gameplay. It looks fairly inoffensive, but again,
as you're playing this and you're talking in a group chat, right? And you're over here talking about what a cool character. Let's say this character over here is Daviers, right? And you're like, I really love how she shoots, can move around. And somebody on voice chat's like, I'm sorry, you really like how they move around the map?
It's not a real person. It's a 3D character.
Yeah, okay. I think that's kind of about it. Right? They're just probably riffing on the characters. I really don't care, to be honest. Oh, wait, no, they have a bit more. I guess we'll go look a little bit more. Sorry.
Like, nobody wants to get beaten down when they're playing video games, and that's what Concord is. It's an absolute beatdown of a video game. I did want to go back to some of these memes because they are sweet.
Which ones? Let's skip around a little bit.
Well, he's like,
yeah.
That's the thing, though. Except for Sony and the media. Like, everybody saw this was going to fail. And it came out. So this IGN writer, let's go over to that part place for this story.
Honestly, it just looks like there's nothing really that sticks out aside from the ugly characters.
This IGN writer.
We saw this already. Whatever. Either way, hopefully Sony learned something. Maybe with the success again of Astrobot, I've seen people really. I know I'm talking about that too, but that actually looks kind of. Let me see if I can find some gameplay of that random smooth. I mean, look at that. Look how nice this looks. Cute little character. Bright world. The colors that actually kind of match and complement each other. Music's not bad either. Getting kind of Mario Sunshine vibes from that jump. Just sneezed, sorry. Yeah. I mean, if I had a PlayStation, if I had a PS5, I'd probably get this game. And I know they have a few little costumes or little other Astrobot little characters that are, see, like that. Yeah, there's one of Ratchet. I know they have some Resident Evil ones. I last time I saw there was a Pyramid Head one, which is kind of weird because I think he was dragging another little Astrobot. So I'm not really sure what to think of that. But yeah, hopefully this game does well enough. Yeah, Mario and Sonic, yeah. So, yeah, hopefully this game does really well. And they're like, maybe we should start doing fun games. Also, actually, you know what? There was also some one little thing I guess we'll talk about. There we go. Go with the gamer. I don't really care for this. Yeah, is lacking original IPs. Let's see. Just like pretty much every platform holder, PlayStation has sat on a huge pile of franchise and has been left dormant for years, even decades, for instance. Every one of you reading this article probably has a beloved series you wish to make a comeback, but Sony has looked at its vault full of titles and has come to the conclusion that simply doesn't have enough original IPs. These rather bizarre comments come from the Sony CFO Hiroki Totoki in a recent interview with Financial Times, thanks PlayStation Lifestyle, which he claims the company is currently lacking original IPs that it fostered from the beginning. I guess this is going to be the quote right here. Whether it's for games, films, or anime, we don't have that much IPs that we fostered from the beginning. We're lacking the early phase the early phase of IP, and that's an issue for us. Okay, I don't really know what the hell you're talking about of your original IPs. You have several. I could name 5 of them, probably. Twisted Metal, MotorStorm. Let's see, what else is there? Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter, The Last of Us. There we go. There's 5 right there. I mean, Jesus Christ, you have so many. Bloodborne technically is a Sony IP. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You have lots of IPs. Bring them to make games from those. Totoki goes on to explain that he thinks that the company has done well getting the existing popular IPs to new audiences, possibly referring to PlayStation's big push for the PC market, but that Sony and PlayStation won't grow if it doesn't start creating original IPs from scratch. You don't have to create them from scratch, just look at the ones people want. Medieval, there we go. Fat Princess, I don't know people, well, I think that was made by girls. I wonder people, you know what, fuck it, fuck people getting offended. No, get Fat Princess. That game was actually pretty fun. Sadly, I was kind of playing it toward the tail end, so there was like times where like no one was playing, but still, come on, you have lots of IPs, do something with them. Totoki's comments come from a rather bizarre right after PlayStation announced that Concord, one of its new IPs that clearly had high hopes for, being shut down less than 2 weeks after launch. We're also just days away from the release of Astrobot, a game that is considered a celebration of PlayStation's rich history and the game/characters that have played a large role in the platform's rise. Jak and Daxter, Sly Cooper, Parappa the Rapper, Bloodborne, Gravity Rush. Holy crap, bring back Gravity Rush. You only had it on the PS Vita, on the Vita? I think there's some on the PS4, but you can't really get it anymore or something like that. I don't know. But holy crap, you have released. You see other people releasing like collector's editions, remasters. Do it again. People are, if it's a good game, people aren't too shy about rebuying games. Good God, Nintendo's been doing that forever. Where was I? I can feel like more of a graveyard of feel more like a graveyard of ideas at times, and there's nothing really stopping PlayStation from reviving these franchises if it feels as it doesn't have enough original IPs in rotation. Instead, PlayStation seems to be all aboard the live service train, with plans to release 12 in the near future. We already have titles like Fair Games and Marathon on the way, though who knows how those will perform given the spectacular failure of Concord. However, Astrobot launches and is a smash hit, the company can make somewhat of a course correction before it embarrasses itself even further. 0 editions of Skyrim. 0%. How many fucking versions of Skyrim are there? Like, it's on everything. I think you can technically play it on your Alexa device if you wanted to. Give it time. I'm pretty sure someone will make it on a fucking calculator. It's amazing how people seem to live this meme, and this is literally that meme of like, what is it? Like Patrick, like saying like, oh, we don't have a lot of whatever. Like, oh, we don't have any original IPs, and SpongeBob's just tearing everything up, tearing the wallpaper, and then you just see nothing of walls to walls of all their IPs, and you look outside, it's a really big pile of Bloodborne. But yeah, hopefully Astrobot does really well and they can correct the course. But seeing as they somehow don't really feel like they have enough original IPs, I don't know.